This being your third season, it seems like you've been a lot more assertive or spicy this year.
Spicy? So? I don't know, spicy. Smooth. I mean, I feel like for me, it's just my approach. It's just coming in and just trying to be dominant in anything the team needs. And so if that gives off spicy, which I really don't think it does, I feel like I'm like kind of quiet. Spice? No, I just not spicy. But yeah, I feel like that's just been my mindset, is just coming in and just being the player that I need to be for us. Whatever that looks like, it looks like.
What is the connection between a playoff berth, a bruising blowout, and a locker room mantra regarding the Indiana Fever? Everything. Their triumph over the Washington Mystics, 94-65, wasn't merely a win. It was a combination of defiance and survival. In the midst of it all, Aliyah Boston said something that has fans asking for more information and teammates talking. What was it she said? And why, despite the absence of their star player Caitlin Clark and 4 other injured players, is Indiana's mentality enabling them to go to the playoffs? There's more to this than simply basketball, so stay put. Go to Comment Fever Playoffs if you're excited about the postseason. Come on.
Playoffs! That's how we clinch, baby! We can't! W. Playoffs! Bow! Yeah! Playoffs, baby!
Mitchell in transition. Lays that up and in for our first bucket of the game. Well, that's Sims off the cross again into the paint, lays it up and in.
How is it possible for a playoff team to survive after losing half of its rotation? That is the Indiana Fever's season-long narrative. The roster was devastated, not merely hit. After just 13 games, Caitlin Clark, the sophomore phenom who was expected to guide this club into a new era, was sidelined due to a torn groin. After suffering a knee injury, Sophie Cunningham left. Chloe Beebe has recovered from a knee injury. Sydney Colson did not play. Ari McDonald had a foot injury toward the end. 5 contributors' identities were removed from the image. Most teams fail when that many key players leave. This became a test for Indiana.
When you think back to the beginning of the season, if someone were to tell you, like, this is where you would be, this is your team, like, at the end of the season, like, genuinely, what do you think the reaction would be?
Probably no stinking way. I don't think, thinking back to the beginning of the season, that anyone would have ever foreseen it going like this.
The hit to Clark's injury was the most severe. With her playmaking standards an average of more than 16 points per game, Fever supporters began to believe that the postseason was not only conceivable, but also inevitable. You could feel the shockwave going around the basketball world, as well as throughout Indiana, when it was announced that she would be out for the season. The question that fans who had crowded Gainbridge Fieldhouse were left with was how this club could possibly be competitive without its best player. Analysts gathered to declare that the Fever's hopes of making the playoffs were over.
Even if things looked like it got harder, for us it was about sticking together, and I think through everything you're able to see that, us play with joy, us play together regardless of who's on that floor.
It wasn't just Clark either. Due to the frequent influx of hardship signings, Indiana's roster didn't seem as stable. More like to a moving train that others were attempting to board. At some point, 18 different players have taken the field. Imagine taking a team photo at the beginning of the year and discovering midway through that practically all of the faces have been replaced. Shaw Petty entering minutes, Odyssey Sims soaring in, and Aerial Power staking out a part. It was more about survival than strategy. And survival typically doesn't culminate in a postseason run.
For whatever reason, things happen, and you've got to continue to put your best foot forward. You got to continue to stay the course. This group has been forced to grow strong roots, and teams can go one of two ways when those things happen. You either use it to pull you together and as motivation to continue to get better and do it for one another and do it for your teammates that have been lost to injury, or it pulls some teams apart.
Stephanie White's leadership was crucial in this situation. She didn't panic even after her roster was destroyed. She made rotations more efficient, streamlined the system, and encouraged players to concentrate on the foundation. White even acknowledged that in order to make the most of what they had, the team needed to think creatively. She was aware that it would be a mistake to downplay the hardship. Rather, she leaned into it, reminded her squad of their mental and physical toughness, and the players did the same.
When I look at this group, I'm just so incredibly thankful for the type of people that we have in this locker room, for the way that they have been able to continue to stay the course and bounce back and stay together, to pull for one another, to really be flexible enough to make space for different types of teams that we've had throughout the course of the year, and to continue to put ourselves in position.
By August, uncertainty was replaced by something else: tenacity. This team's secret weapon turned into what was meant to be its undoing, not a star to rely on. No issue. All of the women on the roster developed the ability to carry the burden. What began as a necessity became their identity, that next woman up motto, and the hardness that had been imposed upon them throughout the season eventually blossomed into domination once they brought it into Washington.
Inside Howard, off the window, the bucket, and the foul. Heady three, knocks it down again. Lost the handle, gets it back, gets right to the hoop, and she drops it home.
Fever 94, Mystics 65. Indiana's in. And now you know, despite all the adversity, this incredibly resilient Fever team is going back to the playoffs in 2025.
How does one transform sadness into a demolition of Tweeny Wiener? Allowed for 29 points. On the road against the Washington Mystics, the Indiana Fever discovered the solution, and it manifested as a victory so decisive that it seemed less like a basketball match and more like a statement to the league as a whole. This victory wasn't a random one. It was the one that guaranteed a trip back to the postseason and demonstrated that this team has several sources of motivation, even in Caitlin Clark's absence. In the first half of the game, it didn't appear to be a blowout. In order to keep things tight, Washington came out strong, pushing Indiana to trade buckets and take hard looks. Early on, the Fever's attack wasn't clicking. How does one transform sadness into a demolition of 29 points? On the road against the Washington Mystics, the Indiana Fever discovered the solution, and it manifested as a victory so decisive that it seemed less like a basketball match and more like a statement to the league as a whole. This victory wasn't a random one. It was the one that guaranteed a trip back to the postseason and demonstrated that this team has several sources of motivation, even in Caitlin Clark's absence. In the first half of the game, it didn't appear to be a blowout. In order to keep things tight, Washington came out strong, pushing Indiana to trade buckets and take hard looks. Early on, the Fever's attack wasn't clicking.
And more than anything, y'all, big picture-wise, this group, there would have been so many teams that would have folded with all we've been through. And we just kept getting better. And we kept getting tougher. And we kept becoming more resilient. And we kept figuring things out, right? Like, we've had like 7 new teams throughout the course of this season. and no matter what, we've been flexible. We've been accountable. We've put each other in positions to be successful. And we've continued to put one foot forward and stayed the course.
It was competitive at the half, but by the third quarter, everything had completely changed. The defensive lockdown by the Fever did more than only stall Washington. They were overwhelmed by it. During that entire session, the Mystics only scored 9 points. 9. It's more than just a cold streak. That is almost completely shut down basketball. It felt like every lane was broken. Each game is disputed. Indiana appeared to be the more hungry team on both ends all of a sudden. After that, the lead grew rapidly, surpassing 20 and 25 before reaching its maximum of 33 points.
You just don't know what she's going to do. I mean, she's so crafty with her shot decisions. Howard right to the hoop high out the window. And she's slicing through that paint. Angela back tapped it. It ends up with aerial powers. Inside Howard, off the window, the bucket, and the foul by the rookie all-star Sonia Citron. Howard quickly back the other way tonight, back at 34.
The individual plays conveyed the rest, but the numbers revealed the story. At the precise moment that Indiana needed Natasha Howard, she stepped up, scoring 17 points, a game-high total, and pounding Washington whenever she went close to the rim.
Jolson had to stay home because she had an occupied side in terms of a cutter in her area. She stayed. Petty three, knocks it down again. Flip it. She's just such a solid stabilizer for Washington. Howard right to the hoop, lays it up and in. Fourth foul on Austin. Austin down low. Double tongue, drops off to Howard, who lays it up and in.
Aliyah, with another double-double, 12 points and 11 rebounds, Boston restored her consistent domination, allowing Indiana to limit the damage on both ends.
So Craves in there, get off and get loose. Mitchell three off the mark, long rebound ends up with Sims. It's Sims, nice pocket pass. Boston foul line jumper.
And Ariel Powers came off the bench with 15 points, 6 rebounds, and 4 assists right when it looked like the Fever would need to score more points to win the game, resembling the spark plug that would not allow the energy to drop.
Austin got that rebound. Here's Powers. Lost the handle, gets it back, gets right to the hoop. There she drops and home. 8 on the shot clock here for Citron. So re-screen that. And then they got the switch they want. Oh, couldn't get it in. Tough turnover there for Washington. The loose ball collected by Dolson as Citron brings it over half. Powers in the passing lane. No one to beat. Lays it up and in. See if they can get back to that and connect plays and stack possessions with that level of effectiveness.
The contributions continued after that. Lexi Hall was everywhere on the floor, harassing ball handlers, diving for loose balls, and converting defensive plays into transitional opportunities.
Of finishing plays. Here's Hall, guarded by Citron. Hanging, fading, kicks off the glass. My goodness. Be better served. Maybe 4 out, 1 in, and have him take turns with it. Oh. Clips and 3.
They had perfect shooting from Shia Petty, who finished with 13 points after making 3 straight from beyond the arc. Each role player that entered the game left their mark when they left.
Sims is also back for the Fever. Here's Petty in the corner. He knocks it down. Jay Petty also spent time here.
The turnover struggle, statistically speaking, sealed Washington's doom. Indiana converted the 22 times the Mystics coughed up the ball into 27 points. Washington never had a chance to regain momentum because the Fever only gave it away 6 times during the evening. They were outscored by Indiana, but that wasn't all. It was the manner in which they took advantage of almost every error to sap the Mystics' last hope.
Thanks to Alicia Clark and stayed seamless with the philosophy and culture and playing with joy as being the top tier point of emphasis there. Mitchell in transition lays that up and in for our first bucket of the game.
Now that their star is observing in street clothes, who does this squad turn to? That response is beginning to form. However, it's not a single name. One player has emerged as the embodiment of this team's new rhythm. Aliyah Boston has taken center stage. She may be the anchor this group needs more than ever, as seen by her remarks following the victory. Which locker room slogan caused fans to applaud and teammates to buzz after that playoff winning victory in Washington? All you had to do was listen to Aliyah Boston. She spoke and played with greatness, and her rebounds are as powerful as her words.
I'm so proud of you guys. I mean, this was, we owned them in the second half. Hell yeah! 27 total points we had them to in the second half. 27 points off of turnovers. Hell yeah! And we took care of it. Only 7 turnovers for us. Woo! A complete team effort, y'all. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 players in double figures. I mean, it was just all really good stuff. Really good stuff.
Boston's composure and polish have always been well known. However, she's doing something completely different this season. The franchise record was broken when she recorded her 17th double-double of the year against the Mystics. She has now amassed 41 career double-doubles in just 2 seasons, to put that into context. Even by itself, that consistency is remarkable. Her output, however, became the lifeline during a season when the roster appeared to be a plague of ailments. With 12 points, 11 rebounds, and 5 assists at the end of the game, She led the team in plus-minus at plus 29. Although those figures may seem insignificant, when she was on the floor, the Fever gave their best effort.
Aliyah, just through the adversity that you guys went through this season, especially maybe in August when people were going down left and right, did you guys feel like this was always possible to make the playoffs? Did you ever have moments of concern or doubt? And what allowed you guys to just keep, the eyes on the prize more or less? Yeah, I think, just being someone in this locker room, you never doubt yourself and what you're capable of, no matter what happens. I think the entire staff, up to the head, just made great decisions when people went down on who to bring in, the type of people to bring in. And that was really our mindset. We never doubted ourselves. We never doubted that we could be in the playoffs. Even if things looked like it got harder, for us, it was about sticking together. And I think through everything, you're able to see that, us play with joy, us play together, regardless of who's on that floor.
This was more than merely swapping out the scoring in Clark's absence. Anyone can search for additional points. Boston had to take on the role of the team's skeleton, the constant pulsation that kept the heart beating. She moved the ball with swift, decisive passes that gave her teammates easy looks, chased down missed shots, and anchored the paint against Washington's drives. She became the focal point of the Fever's identity in addition to being the center in position.
Likes to get into their offense. You see Jade Melvin getting that defensive assignment on Mitchell. She picked her up pretty much three-quarter court. Boston baseline jumper falls. That's the advantage with Mitchell guarding her. 11-0 run right now for Washington. Boston got that baseline, misses, gets her own, and finishes.
The group with statements as forceful as her title. She advised her teammates, never question who you are or what you're capable of. Imagine the mood in the locker room following that outburst. Still recovering from the rush of a playoff victory, everyone is perspiring. Colleagues gathered, giggling, relieved, but also overcome with emotion due to the difficult journey. Caitlin Clark is on the sidelines observing. Sydney, Chloe, Ari, and Sophie are all confined to their recuperation. However, this Boston gathering is capable of. It was more than simply words. They played as though they really believed it, as you could see. Lexi Hall is diving for items on the floor. Powers sprang from the bench like immediate firepower, and she petted lighting up from deep. They were propelled ahead by that phrase, which turned into an invisible hand. Her sentiments were later echoed on social media by fans who felt the same way. All of a sudden, Boston wasn't the only reminder. It served as a call to action. Despite the overwhelming odds, don't doubt this team's abilities.
And how would you describe the locker room after the game today, just being able to sell? Well, we didn't make a TikTok, so I think everyone is just super excited. Like you said, it hasn't been a perfect road. And so for us, it's enjoying the little moments while at the same time understanding we have another game on Tuesday and then we have to prepare for the playoffs. But I think just being in the moment and being where our feet are and kind of just enjoying this one.
It's not an easy reality. The Fever's matchups in the first round are probably tough. Phoenix, Las Vegas, or Atlanta, everybody. 2 of those games are on the road because the best of 3 format makes 3 games risky. Normally, it would feel like a death sentence to enter the playoffs without their highest score. The Fever, however, have already demonstrated that they are capable of competing with each of those teams. In addition to taking games away from them during the regular season, they did so using the same cycle of shorthanded players that we currently see. The aspect that stands out to Indiana supporters is the return to Gainbridge Fieldhouse. For the first time since 2016, the Fever will play at least one home playoff game. It has been almost 10 years since Indiana hosted postseason basketball. This is taking place as a result of this roster learning how to win as a team. And they just demonstrated against Washington that on any given night, 5 different players can score in the double figures. They are unpredictable, more difficult to scout, and less dependent on one face to bear the load because of their offensive balance. "18 different players wore Fever jerseys during this season. In the end, the revolving door created a roster that allows anyone to play significant minutes without missing a beat. Shea Petty and Lexi Hall took on roles no one had anticipated. Veteran steadiness was supplied by Ariel Powers and Natasha Howard. Aliyah Boston and Kelsey Mitchell are now key choices with postseason experience rather than backups. In a sense, Caitlin Clark's absence allowed her teammates to advance into more senior positions. Additionally, she will be entering a locker room that already has championship DNA when she makes her comeback in 2026. The narrative reversed. Everyone believed that Indiana's injuries would cause them to falter, but instead they created a playoff-ready team that now appears more dangerous than it did before healthy. The Fever was put to the test in unexpected ways this season. They were taken down by injuries, but they were not weak. It was faith, grit, and depth. Indiana is in the playoffs and has a winning record for the first time since 2015, evidence of the authenticity of the identity created under duress. Instead of focusing only on survival, fans should view this as the beginning of a new chapter. The foundation is stronger than ever, the momentum is genuine, and the postseason is here. And it raises a significant query. What will happen when they are fully recovered if this is what they can accomplish with half a roster? Go to Comment Fever Playoffs if you're excited about the playoffs. Turn on all notifications, like and subscribe to ensure you don't miss anything. After you click the video on the screen, we'll talk in the next